In Maxwell trial, witness Alessi is grilled about stolen gun and schoolgirl uniform as witness name blurted by Matthew Russell Lee. Patron song video ruling BBC, decrypt, light read, Honduras, podcast, SDNY Courthouse, December 3, Ghislaine Maxwell, charged with sex trafficking and other charges, faces a November 29, 2021 trial today, after the November 23 final pre-trial conference. Vlog here. On October 29 and again on November 12, Maxwell and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York filed a flurry of motions in limine, heavily redacted. The government argued that trial exhibits are not public and will be withheld. Inner City Press opposed and opposes the continued secrecy. On the morning of December 3, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime house manager Juan Alessi was cross-examined, and a pseudonymous witness name was blurted by Team Maxwell. Not for the first time. Inner City Press live tweeted here, podcast here, 9 a.m. vlog here, and see #Maximum Maxwell here and more on Patreon here. Before U.S. v. Ghislaine Maxwell Day 5, with Epstein's house manager Juan Alessi still on the stand, Inner City Press has launched #Maximum Maxwell and mystery, bonus and will live tweet below. Maxwell's lawyer, before jury comes in, seeing semen on the table is going to be prejudicial. Also, it was a white stain. It is entirely probative as to whether these massages were just messages or were in fact sexual. Judge Nathan, I would permit lab tests. Assistant U.S. Attorney, the fact that Mr. Epstein had a collection of schoolgirl uniforms is relevant. Maxwell's lawyer, this has little connection Miss Maxwell and is prejudicial. Also, schoolgirl costumes, small ones, were found in the massage room. Maxwell's lawyer, they should not be described as schoolgirl uniforms. Also, I'll just lay a foundation then ask the witness about them. Judge Nathan, you could say, without describing them, did you find these items? Maxwell's lawyer, the interior and artwork changed. By 2019, the witness we call Jane said it was creepy, with drawing of monsters on the walls and naked women. We think these photos should be excluded. The photos of nude girls in the massage room. Judge Nathan, maybe there's a way to position two screens, and only show them to the jurors. I'll ask Miss Williams to ask the AV people, can show video so that only the jurors can see it, and no one else? We'll see. Please bring in the jurors. Judge Nathan, Mr. Alessi, you may return to the stand. Jury enters. All rise. Maxwell's lawyer, Mr. Alessi, you said you are called Juan, but don't you sometimes say, I am John? Alessi, I am John. In English. Maxwell's lawyer, Miss Maxwell speaks Spanish and called you Juan. You did not take it as an insult, no? Alessi, no, I did not. Maxwell's lawyer, you took $6,300, right? Alessi, yes. Maxwell's lawyer, but didn't you lie, when you stole twice? In fact, Alessi, I did not lie. Maxwell's lawyer, didn't you try to steal a gun? Didn't you steal over $5,000 to pay for the immigration papers of your girlfriend? Alessi, it was not my girlfriend. Maxwell's lawyer, police officer Dawson questioned you? Alessi, no, I went to him. Maxwell's lawyer, you told him you went in to steal a gun. Alessi, I don't recall. Maxwell's lawyer, you might have said it, but now you don't recall? Alessi, that's it. Maxwell's lawyer, and you went back once again to steal money? Alessi, I did it one time and I think that is what I told the police. Maxwell's lawyer, you went through the sliding glass door and stole $5,600 from Mr. Epstein's briefcase, $100 bills in a white envelope. Maxwell's lawyer, show the witness 3500-4002, deposition transcript. I move for admission under Rule 801. Note, A, is inconsistent with the declarant's testimony and was given under penalty of perjury at a trial, hearing, or other proceeding or in a deposition. Maxwell's lawyer, you stole $6,000, when you own properties valued at $1 million. Alessi, I sold those properties, to buy the property for the multifamily. Maxwell's lawyer, let's look again at 3500-4002, deposition page 145. Note, during all this, Ghislaine Maxwell is leaning back and even masked, seems pleased with herself. When first we practice to deceive. Maxwell's lawyer, I'm having trouble seeing in here. Alert. Maxwell's lawyer has just openly said the real name of one of the pseudonymous survivor witnesses. Judge Nathan, you are admonished to abide by my rulings. Also, may we approach? Sidebar begins. Returning from the sidebar, Maxwell's lawyer pointedly says, Mr. Alessi, you testified about when Jane met Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell. Alessi, in this testimony I mistook the two. Maxwell's lawyer, in 2016 you were directed to the name Jane and you said no. Maxwell's lawyer, you were asked if Jane was driving and you said you never saw Jane driving a car. Those are all questions about Jane, right? Alessi, I think so. Maxwell's lawyer, let's take the break. Judge Nathan, okay. Inner City Press # court case cast coverage will continue. And see #Maximum Maxwell here and more on Patreon here. Inner City Press # court case cast coverage will continue. And see #Maximum Maxwell here and more on Patreon here. On November 23 there was a final pre-trial conference and Inner City Press live tweeted it here, podcast here. Likewise, Inner City Press opposes censorship by the UN, which after it asked why UN Sec General Antonio Guterres head of partnerships Amir Dossal was on the board of Maxwell's Terramar Foundation was roughed up and banned from the UN. Summary here, Quinn Emanuel lawyer's letter Q&A here. Now this, a petition, submitted Monday to the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, filed by international criminal lawyers Francois Zimre and Jessica Feinl on behalf of Maxwell's 3 sisters and 3 brothers, arguing to Maxwell's partners at the UN that Maxwell's abnormally rigorous lockup conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn are horrific, and thus unlawful and discriminatory. The petition asks the UN to call on the U.S. government to release Maxwell pending trial and to urge an independent investigation into her arbitrary detention. This while the UN active covers up its own peacekeepers' child rapes. This is ghoulish. On November 15, Judge Nathan held a conference about jury selection. Inner City Press live tweeted here, and podcast here. On the morning of November 16, Judge Nathan questioned prospective jurors. Inner City Press live tweeted here, podcast here. November 16 afternoon here. Late on November 16 it emerged that Judge Ali Nathan is being nominated for elevation to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals by Senator Chuck Schumer. She said, if I am nominated I will continue to do my day job, which means presiding over this trial until completion and handling the hundreds of other civil and criminal matters on my docket. So it appears she would complete the Maxwell trial, but any sentencing? Would she follow 2D Circuit Judge Richard J. Sullivan in keeping some SDNY cases? As noted, Judge Sullivan is still rightly allowing call-in lines to in-person cases. Here, podcast here. Watch this site. On November 17, jury selection continued with questions of seized phones, jail conditions, and the death of Epstein. Inner City Press live tweeted here, podcast here. On the afternoon of November 17, it continued. Inner City Press live tweeted here, podcast here. Jury, pre-selection ended on the morning of November 18. Inner City Press live tweeted here, with so much of the case, and so many of the victims, far from Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, in Florida, the Caribbean, New Mexico, the UK and by private jet in Africa, the lack amid COVID of a listen-only call-in line during the trial proper would be all the more unfortunate. On October 29, after the flurry of redacted motions, Inner City Press filed formal requests with SDNY District Judge Allison J. Nathan, on Document Cloud here. On November 12, while Maxwell and Dodge still redacting and a notice that after 50 people, no more would be admitted even on November 15, Inner City Press filed again. This time, both letters were docketed, appreciated, but denied. Letter on court listener here. Endorsed letter as to Ghislaine Maxwell addressed to Judge Allison J. Nathan from Matthew Russell Lee, dated October 29, 2021. Timely opposition to blanket requests to seal portions of motions in limine, trial exhibits, public access. Endorsement. The court received the attached letters via email. This district no longer permits public access by telephone for in-court criminal proceedings, including trials. The memorandum can be found here. The court's public access orders for all proceedings in the case can be found here. The court has implemented a procedure for docketing filings with proposed redactions and is ruling on the proposals as expeditiously as possible. CDKT, number 401, so ordered. Signed by Judge Allison J. Nathan on November 12, 2021. Earlier on November 12, Inner City Press called into, and reported on, a January 6 case in the District for the District of Columbia, and even other in-person criminal matters in the SDNY. For November 15, only 50 people will be allowed in. Meanwhile, for example, the Kyle Rittenhouse in Wisconsin State Court is on YouTube. While engaged and appreciative on the federal SDNY beat, we'll have more on this. Here was from the October 29 request. Re. U.S. v. Maxwell, 20 CR 330, AJN. Timely opposition to blanket requests to seal portions of motions in limine, trial exhibits, public access. Dear Judge Nathan, on behalf of Inner City Press and in my personal capacity, I have been covering the above-captioned case. This concerns in the first instance the flurry of motions in limine filed earlier this evening, replete with redactions justified by a conclusory reference to Lugas v. Pyramid Company of Onondaga, 435 F.3d 110, 2d Sir. 2006. The government's justifications for redaction, docket number 399, docketed at 10:06 p.m. on Friday, October 29, cites Lugas then says the government also seeks sealing of trial exhibits, which are not public. Inner City Press immediately opposes this. As one example within this motions of limine, the government has redacted the entirety of its argument X, even the title and the page number. And as to trial exhibits, see for example Judge Jed S. Rakoff's order in U.S. v. Wigand, 20 CR 188, JSR. Here, there, Judge Rakoff ordered the U.S. Attorney's Office to make trial exhibits available to the public at large. While this was done, belatedly, in U.S. v. Parnas, it was refused in the current U.S. v. Cole. It cannot be refused in this case. Also, Inner City Press understands that the listen-only call-in telephone lines available so far in the case, there may be an attempt to discontinue them. The court should take judicial notice of continuing COVID-19 issues, including people's understandable concerns about congregating even in so-called overflow rooms. Be aware that the District for the District of Columbia still allows public phone access to all criminal proceedings, even those held in person. That should happen here. The loss of First Amendment freedoms, even for a short period of time, unquestionably constitutes irreparable injury. Elrod v. Burns, 427 U.S. 347, 373, 1976. Inner City Press will cover the trial, and all that comes before and after it. Court case cast and Song I, Song 2, Song 3, 5th Song and now November 27th Song. On October 18 the U.S. Attorney's Office opposed the request, saying that the voir dire questions should be asked by Judge Nathan, and that there should only be sidebars on sensitive questions such as those that relate to sexual abuse and media exposure. Full letter on Patreon here. In a conference on October 21 on that as scheduling issues, Judge Nathan denied the request to seal. Inner City Press live tweeted it here. Podcast here. On October 22 the draft jury questionnaire was unsealed and Inner City Press has immediately published it on its document cloud here, including have you or a family member ever supported, lobbied, petitioned, protested, or worked in any other manner for or against any laws, regulations, or organizations relating to sex trafficking, sex crimes against minors, sex abuse or sexual harassment? Photo here. After the death of Jeffrey Epstein in the MCC prison, on July 2 acting U.S. Attorney for the SDNY Audrey Strauss announced and unsealed an indictment of Maxwell on charges including sex trafficking and perjury. Inner City Press went to her press conference at the U.S. Attorney's Office and asked, doesn't charging Maxwell with perjury undercut any ability to use testimony from her against other, bigger wrongdoers? Periscope here at 23:07. Strauss replied that it is not impossible to use a perjurer's testimony, but how often does it work? At 3:30 p.m. on July 2 Maxwell appeared in the U.S. District Court for the District of New Hampshire, before Magistrate 8 Judge Andrea K. Johnston. Inner City Press live tweeted it here. Also live tweeted bail denial of July 14. Here, in the July 3rd media coverage of Maxwell, media all of the world used a video and stills from it of Maxwell speaking in front of a blue curtain, like here. What they did not mention is something Inner City Press has been asking the UN about, as under UNSG Antonio Guterres with his own sexual exploitation issues, exclusive video and audio, it got roughed up and banned from the UN. Ghislaine Maxwell had a ghoulish United Nations press conference, under the banner of the Terramar Project, here. On July 5th, after some crowdsourcing, Inner City Press reported on another Ghislaine Maxwell use of the United Nations, facilitated by Italy's permanent representative to the UN official Nikhil Seth and Demir Dossal, who also let into the UN and in one case took money from convicted UN briber Lap Singh, and Patrick Ho of SEFC China Energy, also linked to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. At the Ghislaine Maxwell UN event, the UN Deputy Secretary-General was directly involved. List of some of the participants on Patreon here. Inner City Press has published a phone of Maxwell in the UN with Dossal, here, but the connection runs deeper. Dossal, with 25 years of UN involvement, was on Terramar's board of directors, one of only 5 directors, only 3 not related to Maxwell by blood and name. The directors, Ghislaine Maxwell, Christine Molina Maxwell, Stephen Haft, Christine Dennis Nand, Amir Dossal. Inner City Press is publishing this full 990 on Patreon here. Dossal has operated through the UN Office of Partnership, with Antonio Guterres and his deputy Amina J. Mohammed, here, and the links to the world of UN bribery, including Antonio Guterres through the Gulbenkian Foundation, runs deeper. More to follow. Antonio Guterres claims he has zero tolerance for sexual exploitation, but covers it up and even participate in it. He should be forced to resign, and or have immunity waived. Terramar has been dissolved, even though Maxwell's former fundraiser, Director of Development Brian Urisic still lists the URL on his protected Twitter profile, also here. But now Inner City Press has begun to inquire into Ghislaine Maxwell's other United Nations connections, starting with this photograph of another day's, or at least another outfit's, presentation in the UN, here. While co-conspirator Antonio Guterres has had Inner City Press banned from any entry into the UN for 2 years and a day, this appears to be in the UN Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, chamber. We'll have more on this, and on Epstein and the UN. Watch this site. The case is US v. Maxwell, 20 CR 330, Nathan. To find out more, please follow the links on screen and in the description. Together, let's make sure justice is served.